Dear students, welcome to the video Trigonometric Equations. The first type of the equations that we are going to learn here are equations of the form sine of theta is equal to k. Now, sine of theta is equal to k. The first step we need in order to solve this equation is to take sine inverse from both sides. So theta will be sine inverse of k. Then, as we learned in the previous video in trigonometrical ratios of some general angles, we know that angle 180 minus theta also lies in the if theta is located in the first quadrant, 180 minus theta also has the same y coordinate as angle theta, so it produces the same sine for this angle. So 180 minus theta has the same sine as theta. So 180 minus theta will be the other answer for this equation. But the other point that we learned, after a complete rotation 360 clockwise or anti-clockwise, again the angle produced will have the same ratio as theta. So after one of the answers will be theta after finding the sine inverse of k. Second, 180 minus theta. Then 3, you need to add and subtract 360 to find the other answers. So theta plus 360, theta minus 360 will have the same sign. So these are also these angles also satisfy this equation. But in the in the exam, definitely you will be given restrictions over interval for your equation. So as long as these answers lie in the required interval, they will be correct for this equation. So you should check after taking these steps. You need to check whether they lie in the required interval or not. Let's see one example. Sine of theta is equal to, for example, 1 over 2. First step, we take sine inverse of 1 over 2, giving you an angle of 30. For example, theta is between 360 and 0 degree. So, then 180 minus theta minus 30 will have the same sign. So 150 is also another solution for this equation. Then 360 added and subtracted. So 130 plus 360 is equal to 390. Then 30 minus 360, which is negative 330, which doesn't satisfy because it is not between 0 and 360. Then 150 plus 360, which is 510, doesn't satisfy. Then 150 minus 360, which is negative 210, also doesn't satisfy. So the answers are theta, and this answer also doesn't satisfy. So 30 and 150 for this equation. See, for this step, both angles, 360 added and subtracted from theta, and 180 minus theta also to find the other answers. The next type of equations we see here are equations of the form cosine of theta is equal to a constant number. So cosine of theta is equal to k. So in order to find theta, first we take cosine inverse from both sides. So theta will be cosine inverse of k. Then we learned in the previous video that theta and negative theta, as they have the same x coordinate, will be producing the same cosine ratio. So negative theta is another solution for this equation. Then 360, as you know, we learned if theta plus 360, theta minus 360 will be giving you the same ratio as the original angle, as the reference angle. So 360 is added and subtracted. And remember that you should note that whether they lie in the required interval or not. For example, solve cosine of theta is equal to 1 for x between 360 and 0 degree. So first we take cosine inverse of 1, which is 90 degree. Then negative 90 is another answer. Then 360 is added and subtracted. 90 plus 360, 90 minus 360, also to this angle, minus 90 plus 360, minus 90 minus 360. So this goes beyond 360, so it won't be acceptable. 90 minus 360 will be negative, so no here, but 270 will be acceptable. This one also no. So theta will be, the acceptable answers are negative 90 is also not acceptable, so 90 and 270 for this equation. Equations, we'll see here equations of the form tan of theta is equal to a constant number. So again, tan of theta is equal to k. So first we take tan inverse. Tan inverse of k will be the first angle. We learned that tan depends on both x and y coordinates. So if theta is in the first quadrant, as x and y both are positive, so theta plus 180 will go to the third quadrant. So both y and x will be negative. Again, we'll be giving you the same ratio as theta. So if 180 is added or subtracted to theta as reference angle, it will be producing the same ratio for tan, but actually. So theta plus 180, theta minus 180 will be the same, will have the same ratio as tan of theta. So theta plus 180 and theta minus 180 are other answers. Then as the other ones, 360 is added and subtracted. 360 is added and subtracted. Okay, let's have a look at this example. For example, solve tan of theta is equal to 1 for theta between 180 and negative 180 degree. First, theta will be tan inverse of 1, giving you an answer of 45 degree. So then 45 plus 180, which is 225. Then 45 minus 180, which is negative 135. Then we have 3 answers so far. So we go for complete rotation. So 45 plus 360, 45 minus 360. Then 225 plus 360, 225 minus 360, and the third angle minus 135 plus 360 minus 135 plus 360. All are in degrees. So This will be 405, which is not acceptable. Here is a negative 315, not acceptable. Here, not acceptable. This one will be negative 135, which is acceptable. We already found. This one will be 225, which is not acceptable. And this one will be 135, actually minus 360, and mistakenly wrote plus, so it's not acceptable. So let me mark the ones which lie in this interval. This is acceptable, this one no, this is. So we have just these two answers. So the acceptable answers are 45 for this interval and negative 135 for this equation. Now let's see some more complicated examples, including combined angles. So tan of 2 theta, 2a is equal to negative 2.1, and a is to be between 0 and 180 degree. So first I do substitution, let 2a be x. So our equation turns to tan of x is equal to negative 2.1. First step, we take tan inverse, so tan inverse of negative 2.1, which is going to be equal negative 64.54 degree. Then negative 64, we learned that plus 181 and minus 180 will be giving you the same ratio for tan. So plus 180 minus 64.54 minus 180. Then if you add 180 to this angle, it will be 115.46, and if you subtract, it would be negative 200, here 44.54. Now we go for the complete rotation. So negative 64.54 plus 180, plus 360, then negative 64.54 minus 360, then 115.46 plus 360, 115.46 minus 360, negative 244.54. What is this point here? 0.54 plus 360, negative 244.54 minus 360. Now let's calculate them. So here will be 295.46. It will be here 424.54. Here will be 360 plus 115 will be 475.46. Here 360 is subtracted, it will be 344.64. Let me double check. 115.46 minus 360 point sorry, 54. Next one, negative 244.54 plus 360, it will become 115.46, and this one will be 604.54, negative 244.54 and 360. Okay, so these are the answers for x. So they are all x. X is equal to, x is equal to, x is equal to, x, and x. But the unknown of our equation is a. So what is a? A is x over 2. So here a will be negative 32.27. For the next 115.46 divided by 2, a will be 57.73. Here a will be negative 122.27. Here a will be equal to 295.46 divided by 2 is 147.73 degree. Here a will be 212.27 degree. For this one 475.46 divided by 2, 237.73. For the next one a will be 172.27. Next one 115.46 divided by 2 is 57.73 is equal to 300. Next one, negative 302.27. So these are the answers we have found, but the ones which lie between 0 and 180. So the first one is negative, but this one yes, this one no, this one yes, this one no, here no, here yes, here acceptable, but we already found, and this one no. So final answers for A are 57.73 and 147.73 degree, and here also 172. We have miscalculation here. It is negative, so it is negative. Here is not acceptable. So these are the only two answers for these equation in this interval. Another example, solve sine of 2a plus pi over 6 is equal to 0.6 for a between 0 and pi. So let 2a plus pi over 6 be x, for example. So our equation turns to be sine of x is equal to 0.6. The first type of basic equations that we learned. So x is equal to sine inverse of 0.6. As it is, it says 0 to pi, it means that your answer should be expressed in radians. So it will be 0.6435 radians. Now, so for sine, we learned that 180 minus theta is the other answers, but in actually the video, our units were in degree. Here is in rad, so we should write pi minus 0.6435 is the other solution, which will be equal to 2.498 radians. Then 360 is added and subtracted. So here instead of 360 we should use 2 pi in rad, 0.6435 plus 2 pi, 0.6435 minus 2 pi, 2.498 plus 2 pi, 2.498 minus 2 pi. Now let me quickly calculate these numbers. 2 pi, I'm using my calculators to quickly calculate 2 pi plus 0.6435, 2 times pi, 2 plus 0.6435 is equal to 6.963. Then here 2 pi, actually for the subtraction, 6.435. It will be negative 564. Then for this one, it is 2 pi plus 2.498, which is 8.78. Next one, subtraction, 2.498 is 3.79. These are in rad, but as you see here, 2a plus pi over 6 is replaced by x. So we are looking for a. 2a is equal to x minus pi over 6. So a will be half of x minus pi over 6. So for all these angles that we found, we should replace here to in this actually a statement in order to find x. Now, if we use this actually substitution to recalculate, I just list the final answers. There are two answers for a. A is equal to the acceptable ones, 0.0600, and a is equal to 0.987 as the final answers for these equations. So we should actually these are x's. X we replace here, substitute here in this equation in order to find a. So whatever lies in this interval will be acceptable for as the answer to this equation. Next example is equation 3x cosine squared minus sine x cosine x is equal to 0. Now, here, if you factor x, cosine of x, as it is common factor, let's see what happens. Cosine of x, 3 cosine of x minus sine of x is equal to 0. So, you will have two equations to solve. Once cosine of x is equal to 0, once 3 cosine of x minus sine of x. So, is equal to 0 first. So, 3 cosine of x is equal to sine of x. So divide both sides by cosine, it will become tan. I divide both sides by sine of x. Sorry, cosine of x. Divide both sides by cosine of x. So cosine and cosine cancel out. So you will have equation tan of x is equal to 3. So it is the first equation and it is the second equation. So in order to solve this equation, so x will be cosine inverse of 0, which is 90 degree. Then the other answer, after solving this basic equation, the other answer will be 270. So these are the two answers. To solve this equation, x will be tan inverse of 3, which is equal to 71.6. Then if you add and subtract 3 at 180, and after doing complete rotation, the other answer that will be found here, it will be 251.6 degree. So the final answers for these equations in order: 71.6, 90, 251.6, and 270. The next example, actually the last example, which is solved in this video, is 2 sine squared of x plus 3 cosine of x minus 3 is equal to 0. First, you have two types of ratios here, sine squared and cosine of x, and we learned that sine squared of x plus cosine squared of x is equal to 1. So sine squared of x is equal to 1 minus cosine squared of x. So you can apply this important identity to convert all the ratios to cosine. So it will be 1 minus cosine squared of x plus 3 cosine of x minus 3 is equal to 0. As you expand and simplify, it will be minus 2 cosine squared of x plus 2 plus 3 cosine of x minus 3 is equal to 0. So it will be minus 2 cosine squared of x plus 3 cosine of x minus 1 is equal to 0. To make this one positive, I multiply all by negative. It will become then 2 cosine squared of x minus 3 cosine of x minus 1 is equal to 0. Now let cosine of x be, for example, y. So it will be 2y squared minus 3y minus 1 is equal to 0. If you factorize it, it will be 2y minus 1 times y here plus 1 here. I think, yes, this should be positive. Then 2y minus 1, then y minus 1 also is equal to 0. Let me check. 2y squared minus 2y minus y minus 3y. Yes. So you have two answers. Y is equal to 1 over 2 and y is equal to 1. So we have found y so far. So we replace in this equation to solve. So y was cosine of x. Cosine of x is equal to 1 over 2, and cosine of x is equal to 1. Now we need to solve these two equations. So as it is in rad, here x will be pi over 3, and 5 pi over 3 after solving these equations. Here it will be 0 and 2 pi. So overall our answers in ascending order: 0, pi over 3, 5 pi over 3, and 2 pi are the answers for this equation. And thanks for watching this video.